to the Naziyah mourners, I'm reading off the comments and I'm reacting to the comments. This story is off the comments. This is what you all wanted to know. What can we possibly charge Shannon Harris with? Before I give you the term and the legal term, let's think about her actions. She was a young girl who fell in love with her Prince Charming. And from that point on, he had complete control over her actions, the way she thinks, the way she acts, her everyday life. There's no other explanation on why she acted the way she did. But why are we so fascinated with the Naziyah Harris story when there are hundreds of thousands of young ladies who go missing every single day, abused by people that they know? Why is the Naziyah Harris story so heartbreaking? It's because the aiding and abetting that happened, the sinister mentality, how he was able to manipulate Shannon so much that she argued with her family to protect Jarvis. She sacrificed her niece. That's what she did. She sacrificed her niece. She was willing to let this abuse go on and on and on because her love for Jarvis was stronger than that for her niece. That's plain and simple. She was caught up in a no-win situation. She hated the fact that her niece had drawn the attention of her baby daddy, but she didn't want her baby daddy to ever leave, so it was okay. It was all right. So she began unknowingly and unwillingly and caught up in the rapture, what they call the rapture of love. She was so caught up in it that she began to aid in the bed. Allegations that came out in 2022, everybody's seen on the story I just did. The allegations that came out in 2022 should have discussed her, made her reject Jarvis in the worst way. Instead, we hear this statement, and this statement is what's rocking the country, and this is why so many people think it was so sinister that after the CPS allegations of 2022 of Jarvis touching and fondling the children of the Harris family, she made this statement in open court. And that's where this story begins, with this statement. And why was he able to control her in a manner where she became an aider and abetter of his activities?
Use. Naziyah and name withheld reported that Jarvis touched both of them inappropriately as well. Jarvis touched name withheld in her private area, and it hurt. Jernell made the complaint over the phone.
They basically told me if they needed me for anything else, they would reach out.
The next day, Jernell would receive a text from her niece, Butt's girlfriend, confirming that CPS had contacted her. CPS called me, the text reads. They called about the well-being of my kids. Then they called back to get Jarvis info.
Okay, CPS, you on your job. I see you call Shannon Harris, got her part of the story, and you got Jarvis Butt info. That's what's up, CPS. You on your job. You did everything you could essentially save Naziyah's life, or did you?
A spokeswoman would not.
You heard that. Now listen to this, and I'm explaining why she could be charged under the new Naziyah Harris bill.
Would you ever know Naziyah to help Jarvis Butts at his job?
Yes, he will call me and say, hey, if I can get our daughter and Naziyah to come and work up at the shop. And I would say, let me ask my mom first regarding Naziyah.
And which daughter of yours would that be?
That would be my oldest, Janiyah.
You've seen the two clips, one from 2022 and one from 2025. If she knew in 2022 and continuously let these children go up to that shop, she is the reason that Kim Worthy said this, and then I'm going to read the law that supports that.
This case. We also know that several people close to Mr. Butts, who we were charging later, saw them together in several different locations, people that he knew well.
You just heard it for yourself. That's Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy. She said they will be charged later. Who is she talking about? Who is the they? And who will be charged later? Is it CPS? Is it Shannon? Is it Cordell? We know Jarvis is already being charged. Well, let's help her out. We're going to And let me bring you up to speed from my earlier videos on the Naziyah Bill, which was introduced by Auntie Shannon. You heard the two previous videos. One, her knowing in 2022, her again in 2025 saying that yes, we continuously will allow Naziyah and my other kids to go up to the shop. With the information she was armed with, this is the legal term. According to ChatGPT, this is not clickbait when I said that she will be and can be arrested. You heard Kim Worthy saying someone else will be arrested. But what would she use? Here's the ChatGPT definition of what Shannon did. Aiding and abetting is a legal term that refers to helping, encouraging, or supporting someone else in committing a crime. Even if you didn't physically commit the crime, you can still be held just as responsible under the law if you aided or abetted the person who did it. Now, of course, we know that Shannon was caught up in the rapture of love. She was groomed herself by the same individual. Some of the text message between Naziyah and Jarvis, you would think that, hey, this is so unbecoming of a person this young girl's age. But when someone is groomed, they're not acting as they would in a normal matter. That's what they call coercion. You coerce this person into this kind of behavior. Shannon was groomed, and that's the friction she had between her and her other family members. The other family members who you see who reported this crime and wanted it to stop had friction between Shannon. Shannon called them troublemakers. They were the troublemakers, yet you were allowing your 13-year-old niece and your daughter and to go up to a shop where what kind of person would ask for teenage or minors, girls, to come up to an auto mechanic shop? But anyway, let's go to some key points of what aiding and abetting is. Aiding means to help someone in a way, giving tools, info, or money. Abetting means you encourage or support the crime, like urging someone to do it or stand guard while it happens. You must, and this is the key from 2022 to 2025, you must know the person is committing the crime and intentionally help them in any kind of way. Now, do you think that's clickbait when I say that Shannon will be arrested? According to what you heard Kim Worthy said, I don't want to see nobody get arrested. I want to see justice for Naziyah in any form that it comes in. But the thing about it is the definition I just read what she did. She encouraged, she supported, she knew a crime was being committed, she knew it in advance, and she continued to aid this individual who has a sickness. He has a sickness, but he couldn't have got away with so long with the abuse and stuff if he didn't have someone aiding and abetting him. Now let's break down why would she do this, and are there any other examples in history of someone doing this? And I got plenty. I did a story about it. I'm gonna regurgitate some of that story because I have new followers, and some of you all didn't hear that story. I did a story in January about the history of women aiding and abetting SA offenders. Let's begin this story. Now, some of you who are not accustomed or do not know the laws that happened in Michigan in 1993. In 1993, in Michigan penitentiary system, the visiting procedure where anybody who wants to come visit you, all they had to do was come up there, give the person, the correction officer, your name and your number, and they will call you out for the visit. Because of this, there was a couple, and one of the guy was locked up for SA and minors, and his wife was still out there, and his wife will bring minors up there to be SA by this individual while he was locked up. And that changed the rules of the Department of Corrections, saying that there had to be a visit on this. People had to be approved through a visitation approval process in order for people to come up and visit. Why are you telling me this, Reek? What did this got to do with Naziyah? This is the mentality of some of the women that you think is the men who are committing the sexual abuse, but it's the women who is aiding and abetting that is the real driving force behind these men. They cannot commit these crimes because most children are in the care of some kind of woman, some kind of lady. So he has to manipulate the lady first in order to complete his devious plan, which is to get to the minors. That individual had manipulated his wife so bad she was bringing children up there to be SA'd by this individual in a penitentiary system. He didn't stop once he got locked up. That's why this is a sickness that need to be addressed. When you see it and it's there, no one can need to hide this anymore. There's nothing to be ashamed about. These people need help, or these people need a little spanking. But the thing about it is, Shannon Harris is not alone. She was manipulated so bad. Maybe because she had low self-esteem, that she thought that she couldn't get another Jarvis. Maybe she thought her Prince Charming had came and the Naziyah situation was going to take him away from her. Something snapped in that lady's head that made her believe that she needed to help Jarvis out of this situation. What situation are you talking about? The pregnancy. Everyone knows that. I don't have to keep saying it. It's the pregnancy. Everybody knows it's the pregnancy that Shannon became an accomplice, an aider, and a abettor, because not only was she basically turning a blind eye to the situation, now she is actively involved in, we have to do this, Jarvis, and we in this together. She was sending the guy money. I don't care if he hadn't been charged yet. Somebody said, well, he hadn't been charged when she was supposedly sending him money. And she threw a party. She threw a party, man. What? Come on, where y'all? This is why this story is agitating so many people. She threw a party for this guy when he was going to jail, and was sending him money while he was there. This is 2024. The allegations came from 2022. Why is you still sending this guy money in the penitentiary? Why is you throwing him a party? That's why you're breaking the hearts of women all across America and all across this world. This story is a touching story, man. And it's different than any other story of just abuse, because usually the abuse is if a parent is whooping their child, or some gentleman or some monster is touching a young person in the wrong way. Is usually exposed by the mother or the guardian of this child. But in this case, it's the guardian that is more culpable than the assailant. That's what makes this story different. That's why this story resonates with the people from coast to coast. I need you in the comments. I need you in the comments. Because the comments is what I'm doing this story off of. I'm feeding off the comments. Why did she turn? It had to be a gradual process. He had to be a master manipulator for him to encourage her to do this. Let's take another little clip.
On December 3rd, 2023, do you recall sending messages asking Mr. Butts if he needed Naziyah for anything?
Oh, yes, I do remember.
Okay. So do you remember this text on the first page of People's Exhibit 48?
Yes, I do remember this message.
Okay. And did you send that message?
Yes.
Okay. And what did the message say?
Tada said, do you still need her too?
Okay. And do you know what is that referring to?
It was, Tada had asked me to contact Jarvis and see if he still needed them to clean up.
Okay. And that would be to clean up his shop?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, to piggyback off of my last video, no pun intended, Shannon, but here you go again. The lady clearly asked you, read the text, and the text clearly said, Naziyah wanted to know if you still want her to come up to the shop. And you answered the prosecutor with when she asked you what that meant, you said it meant that did Jarvis, she was asking, did Jarvis want them to still come up there? Naziyah clearly said in the text, you clearly said in the text her, but you related to the prosecutor them. That's another way you was trying to manipulate the prosecutor to believing that you would not send Naziyah up there unaccompanied or by herself. This is the kind of manipulation you was doing in that courtroom that gets everybody suspicious of you. There was no talk of them in the text you texted Jarvis. You clearly knew that he wanted her to come up there, but you didn't want the prosecutor to think that you would send Naziyah up there by herself, so you relayed that meant that them that he still want them to come up there. But let's get past that, because we already know you trying to manipulate that prosecutor, but she's smarter than you think she is. Let's get to the point, is that aiding and abetting? Now, in most situations, girls Naziyah age will be sneaking around, going up to places where they shouldn't be at. In this case, Naziyah was asking for permission to go up there and was given permission by her caregiver. This is what aiding and abetting looks like. You being an adult, knowing his appetite for younger women, I mean not women, younger, for kids, and you knowing the allegations against him in 2022, you knowing the convictions he had already, and you giving permission to this young girl to go up there, clearly push you as an aider and abetter. There's no other way to look at it. She's asking for permission. She's not sneaking around. She's not skipping school to go up there. That's why it was unusual when she came up missing. She asked Shannon for permission, and Shannon granted her permission to go up there to that torture shop. It's going to be hard for us not to swallow the words of Kim Worthy when she says there will be more arrested. In another video I did, I reiterated that statement twice. In this video, I'm going to do the same thing. Aiding and abetting is when you knowingly help someone commit a crime. And when that crime is the one that Jarvis is charged with, that is what broke the heart. I'm sorry, I'm beating on something. That is what broke the heart of the women and the caregivers who love their children and could not fathom this kind of thing happening. It broke their heart from coast to coast, New York to Arizona. To the Naziyah mourners and to the people out there who have children, do not be afraid to speak up. Do not be afraid to go to CPS. This culture that we develop of hiding those kind of individuals, it has to be broken today. We're breaking it today on projects in Caseríos. God bless the women who keeping this story alive. I should shout out to each channel when I do my story. Let's keep this story alive, because this is not an ordinary SA story. This story is about the family aiding and abetting. He had got so manipulative, he was able to get them to aid and abet his sickness. And that's why this story has to be told. When there's people out there saying, don't tell the story, leave it alone. No, this is a unique story. This is a unique story like none other. Shannon, the aider and abetter. Jarvis, the master manipulator. And Naziyah, the victim of these two. It's crazy. But till next time, projects in Caseríos on the story. Keep the comments coming. I'll keep the stories coming. Thanks.
This case. We also know that several people close to Mr. Butts, who we were charging later, saw them together in